Hello, my name's Jade and today we will be discussing The Night Circus by Erin Morgernstern. This was pretty popular a couple years ago. I think it came out in like 2011ish. I have been wanting to read it since then and I have finally gotten around to it. Look at how beautiful this book is. Like, it's a really beautiful book. The spine. I wish the cover was less cartoony, like the whole design of it, but it has these shiny bits. It makes sense. The book, and when you see it naked, look at how beautiful it is. It's black with this silver embossed design. You have black and white stripes on the inside, which I love. It's just a very aesthetically pleasing book. I would give it like an 8 out of 10, 8.5. I really enjoyed it. I loved the world. I loved how in depth the writing was. It was really like enchanting, and like escapism doesn't begin to justify it. Like, it's on a whole new level. It just completely transports you away. I had a couple plot type issues with it though, which hold me back from giving it any bigger of a number. In terms of giving you a synopsis, I don't know what to tell you because I was low-key spoiled by the blurbs and such. I wouldn't recommend reading them. They give away way too much and they don't justify what the book's really about, so you go in with misinterpretations of what's really going to be about. Like, the name gives it away. It takes a little while to meet the night circus, but it's about the circus that only opens up at night and the characters involved in it, and there's a lot of kind of magic going on. That's all I'm going to tell you. If that sounds intriguing at all, I would recommend it because it's very different from a lot of the things I've read. It's very enchanting and interesting and fun. I enjoyed it. I highly recommend reading The Night Circus. If you don't want to be spoiled, then you should leave now because I'm about to talk about all of the plot elements and such. So leave now if you've yet to read The Night Circus, please. Thank you. I'm gonna say right off the bat, I spent all morning getting ready to film this video because I knew I wanted to get it done today, and I just filmed it and it took me ages, and like I had all these great points as I was going through it. Spent ages filming it, and then I put my SD card into my computer and it was all corrupt, so I can't use any of that footage, and so now I'm refilming it, and so if my thoughts aren't as coherent, I apologise. I'm gonna start off with my biggest issue because it's a big one. The end. It felt like it was very rushed. First of all, the beginning is very slow, which is fine, but I feel like the first half of the book is extremely slow. We don't really know what's going on. It takes a while for a lot of anything to happen, and then the very end then kind of felt very rushed. Like, I don't have a problem with the book being slow because someone said that it's a book that demands you taking its time. Like, it's a book that doesn't want to be rushed, which I agree. I think it's great and I think it suits the tone and everything amazing. That's not my problem. The problem is that for me personally, I wish it was a little more balanced out. I feel like the resolution we get is almost too slow. Like, the whole time we're building up, because the whole point of the book, in theory, the biggest plot line is this competition. And so that immediately does the question, well, who's going to win? How does the competition end? So that's what we're looking for from the very beginning. And it just kind of ends with Suzuki. I don't know how to say her name. Don't know. I apologise. She, the contortionist, is kind of like, well, I'm fed up with this now. You're both taking too long. I'm just going to end it. We're done suffering for you. Which kind of felt very out of nowhere to me because Celia was working on it. She was figuring it out. Unless she had other motives, the contortionist. Unless the contortionist had other motives that we didn't know about, it didn't make a lot of sense and it felt like it just happened kind of out of the blue. Especially since the competition was very vague. We didn't really know what's going on, which I think kind of hurt it in aspects because I didn't care about the competition at all. I cared about Marco and Celia and their character growth and them getting together. Especially when we find out about the fact that it's a fight to the death. Like, we already know there's no time constraints on it because they've been playing it for the last forever. So they could just not make their moves. Like, they have to stay with the circus and they have to stay tight with it. That's fine. Make your moves really slowly and like don't kill the other person. Like, I guess they would get worn out with like the use of the magic and stuff like that. I think it was all starting to take a toll, but even then, like, Celia was working on it. They could have figured something out, and I think her and Marco could have patched things up and worked together to figure it out. Like, there wasn't a big enough risk. There's nothing that had to be like, ah! And I think having that would kind of like make the little bit after the end even more satisfactory. I mean, the whole Bailey thing makes much more sense because I almost didn't buy that. Like, I appreciate that he was built in from a very early point in the book for this purpose, but it didn't feel connected enough. He just was kind of there, and they were like, you're just in the right place at the right time. We're afraid, we need you. Like, it makes sense that it encompasses everything the circus is about, but like Poppet's vision is kind of dodged. Like, how did they trust him? Didn't really know him for very long. It seems like a very big responsibility. He's just a kid. I think that could have been fleshed out better if it was a bigger stake. And I get that it's not this like big epic book, and it would maybe feel out of place to have this big like battle, and I'm not saying that, but like there needed to be a risk factor to me, and I didn't feel it there. I didn't care. It just kind of happened. And I was also confused about the magic, and it all happened so fast. Having said all that, I was spoiled about the whole death thing, so I knew from the get-go that it was a fight to the death. I don't think it was very good marketing the way it's done, because so many of the blurbs and summaries hinted towards that. And so it was like this big deal when Celia found out, and like I knew it the whole time, and I was just there waiting for someone to tell them, to let them in on it. Talk about some positives. The ambience and the immersion of it all. It was so delicate. It was so well done. Like it all felt so real when I was reading it, and it was also beautiful, and it was such a sophisticated world, and it was also in depth. And I think part of the reason why it was so in depth is because we're floating around between all these different people. We don't stay with any one place, we don't stay with any one plot point, because there's a competition, there's the circus, there's the revoirs, there's all so much going on. And I loved that. I'm so glad it wasn't a first person, that we didn't follow any one person. That really kind of stood out to me, how delicate and intricately it was all woven, because there were so many different time points going on, and we're going back and forth all the time and going around the world all the time, and there was so much kind of juggling in the air. It was really cool. I really liked that. There was also like a lot of foreshadowing with Poppet's visions, and the whole Merlin in the tree thing. I feel like that had bigger resonance than what I took it on for. That's my fault though. I'm sure she did something clever there. Loved all of the characters, well, like all of the little side characters, like not necessarily big ones. I really care for, like, Tara's death, is that her name? Was it Tara? Tanya? Her death, like, I didn't see that coming. It was very out of the blue. It was very shocking. I feel like up until the point it was all like la di da, magic, circuses, and then she just got hit by a train, and I was like, what? I had to take a second to compose myself. I especially loved Celia and Marco. I loved them as a couple, although I kind of wish, like, it took so long for them to even like recognise each other really, and then we kind of got some moments with them, and then it felt like we were at the end really fast. Like, I kind of wish we had more moments of them building their relationship, and especially because there's like these great big time periods apart, and like where they're across oceans and years go by. I wish we got to spend more time with them together. And I think the whole Marco Isabel thing opens up like a really interesting discussion, because I don't think what Marco did was right. It never says that explicitly that they were in a relationship, but it's implied, and if nothing else, it's implied that she thinks that they are, because the way he ended it with them suggested that, you know, there's something going on, and he very much knew that she was in love with him, and the way he kind of led her on, and especially for years, even when he was like flirting with Celia and such, like, it's very debatable morals there. And I think it's interesting because A, it shows that, you know, characters aren't black and white. They have depth to them. There's this grayscale. They can be good and bad. Because I don't think Marco's a bad guy. I just think he messed up. I think he messed up, and it shows that characters make mistakes and they're people. I don't particularly like the way he dealt with it afterwards, the way he was so kind of harsh and blunt with her. I mean, she just wanted to help, and she seemed like a really sweet person. At first I thought Isabel was Celia, and I got really excited. It turns out no, that's not what was happening. And then I kind of was annoyed at Isabel, but she didn't do anything wrong. She was perfectly nice. She was trying to help. I mean, she had a role in it. She kept the balance, and then when that undid, hell broke loose. I think it opens up a very interesting debate. I fear that maybe it's almost posing that to be acceptable. I don't think it is. I think it's quite impartial in the way it tells it, but like, okay, to me this felt like a YA, and in a YA, I would be worried that it's like showing people that it's okay in like impressionable readers and so on and so forth. It's not, it's adult. But it felt so YA, the way it was written, and the way it's so la-di-da, nothing bad stuff happens, but we don't get into any nitty-gritties. We don't see any remarkably bad side of characters. It's also fairy tale-esque, that it's hard to think of it as an adult. Like, there's not particularly any swearing, or like any really dark stuff happening. Like, a lot of people say the circus was creepy. I didn't personally think it was creepy. I don't know if that says something about me, but I very much took it as like an out of this world, nighttime-esque experience. I guess the ending, in a way I was almost like wishing that they fought harder and so that they could be left alive and they didn't have to be stuck in a circus. Well, I think it works and it's cute and it makes sense. I was almost a little bit frustrated by it, but I think that's kind of plays with the adult tone of the book, the way kind of adult books kind of stuff happens, deal with it. Like it's not all gonna be perfect all the time, and I don't think YA books necessarily present that, but they tend to be more lenient in that aspect and they tend to appease the readers more, whereas adult books can be more unapologetic about it. So I guess in a way it kind of feels ageless because the characters go through over a vast amount of age. There's a story that like anyone can appreciate. I feel like it's unaffected by age ratings and I like that. I like because it's just such like a beautiful piece. It doesn't need to be bound. I think that's everything I wanted to say. I really liked it. I think there's a lot of really interesting themes. I loved the magical realism. I loved the world. It was so in depth and beautiful. Very much kind of suited my aesthetic. And that is all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a magical morning, afternoon, evening / night. My name's Jade and I hope I see you again next time. Goodbye!